everyone, welcome back. So we had our intro video with Debbie from Shetland Reel Gin yesterday, and today we are cracking into the fancy tasting packs of the free gins. Today we're going to drink the original gin. So Debbie, do you want to tell us a little bit about this gin and your tasting packs?
Yes, thank you, Jenny. I'd love to, because I like talking about my gin no matter what. But it's a fantastic opportunity because the tasting pack has our 3 core gins, and they're all very different. So it's a really good way of having a smaller bottle and seeing which you like and which your friends might like, which are different, and so you've got that whole real sort of tasting experience. And obviously in lockdown at the moment, we're probably all looking for something that will work at home. I know you may not be able to invite your friends around, but there's nothing to stop them having a pack, and you could maybe work it like we're doing, Jenny, so well. So we put this together because normally this pack does work really well when we're out at events, because you've given a wee taste to people there, and they want to then take it home so that they can enjoy the same experience. So you've got 3 200 milliliter bottles, so it works really well for 4 people. There's enough for 4 people to try it neat, and then with a tonic to make it into a gin and tonic. So it should work really well. And being really honest, if you try and go more than 3 gins and compare after you've tasted them neat, you start to forget after 3. 3 is a really good number, and our gins are very different. So what we did was develop a pack, some cards that go inside the box. They might actually arrive outside the box, but they will come with it, and it tells you what else you need to buy as well as the gin. So it tells you what serves we recommend. And the fact that ideally a quality tonic will work well with it. We'd always recommend a quality tonic, and you probably know what those are. Fever Tree is always a good base to go back to, but there's some fantastic new ones coming out as well, so play around yourself. If there's a slightly alternative mixer, sorry?
A bad tonic can just ruin a gin and tonic. I think that's my main thing I've learned. Like, the good tonic is the way forward.
It is, and it's quite funny actually, because from a craft distilling point of view, we know how much time and effort we put into creating a gin, and it's almost when somebody sort of says, no, but I really like Schweppes, and you're like, that's okay, if you really want to stick with, more of a mainstream tonic that's been around for years, a bit chemically, a bit clingy in the mouth, that's okay. But you're really going to taste the botanicals properly. It's going to make such a much better experience of drinking your gin. But it is what it is. And in fact, that's what I was saying. We do suggest other mixes from time to time. I mean, Fever Tree, they've got the Mediterranean tonic if you're needing a bit of sweetness in. Some of us taste really good with ginger ale, sometimes elderflower. So if we do recommend that, then it will be on the cards as well. But it's up to you. If you were doing a strict tasting, then really you should use the same tonic or the same mixer with each gin. Otherwise, that is because they do have an effect on them. But what the cards allow you to do, once it's told you what you need to get and to be organised, it tells you how to set up and how many glasses to have and all that sort of thing. And if you want to be really strict, you could put your gin in the fridge before you start, all this sort of thing. You could, have some coffee beans to cleanse your palate in between if you're going really professional. Or if you want to be more relaxed, of course you don't need to do that. But there's hints on that. And so somebody should act as the sort of host, so that really you can encourage your guests to try and taste it and see if they can pick up the botanicals without knowing. So you'll have sheets like that, so you can make a wee note of what you think with nosing it and trying it neat, and then with a mixer, and then you maybe put a mark out of 10, or you put particular comments if you like it, or maybe somebody else who would particularly like it. So that all works, and then so the host would have the card with all the details on each of the gins, so they can sit there all knowledgeable, or they can not actually look at it until the end and then reveal, or maybe after each one, actually reveal what was in the gin itself and what was the main botanical. And that's really why, if you're tasting a new gin, it's always good to try it neat. And it's actually always really good to try and nose it first. Of course, just like you would do with a whiskey. So are we going to pour a little, Jenny, or you already poured? I'm using the big bottle ones here. This is because they do come in big bottle sizes as well, but just because I've got them open. So again, if you were going to be really strict with your tasting experience, you would want a glass where actually the rim comes in so that it retains the aroma in one place. Yeah, I've actually got a rocks glass, and I'm using this because these are the glasses that we recommend when it's made into gin and tonic. But yeah, if you were being really strict, you'd want it to sort of stay there so you get the aroma, and you would just sort of run it by your nose. You don't sort of stick your nose in and have a big sniff. You just sort of, you run it, you just sort of move it forwards. So you just,
yeah, we don't recommend snorting gin. There's a fine line.
So some people, it actually helps if you close your eyes, because, you know, sort of the aroma brings back past experiences, something, and quite often you'll find somebody saying, oh, this reminds me of, or this reminds me of a family member, or this reminds me of being in a flower shop or standing in a field, or, you know, it can really strong emotions can come out. And it is, that's what I really like about sort of live tastings, when people give you their immediate feedback. So with this one, what you should be picking up is the main local botanical that we put in, which was apple mint. And we talked before that finding local botanicals is not easy because of our location at 60 degrees north. And we met with Sarah McBurney, who's based in Unst, and she's on the picture on the card. And she suggested apple mint, and this is what it looks like when it's dried. Jenny has actually got a fresh, this is how organised we are in partnership. Jenny,
I can grow.
Jenny has the fresh version from her garden, but she grew especially a little bit. And this is what it looks like when it's dried, and it is, when I'm just sort of wafting about, you get this amazing sweet mint. But what it does, you know, because sometimes mint can be harsh, so you haven't got that harshness. And what it does to the gin with the other botanicals, it just gives a real clean, fresh taste. So in this particular gin, the original, we had to call it the original. It didn't have a name actually until we made the second one, and then we had to give it a name. So it's the original, and it's Shetland Blue, as you can see, like the sea. It's a shaded bottle, so it starts dark and it goes up the bottle. Our bottles are beautiful. With the reflection, it sometimes looks as though it's all blue, but it's not. It's a shaded blue. So as you drink down, you'll see the clear will emerge. So Shetland Blue. And the capsule on the top has got the map, and you will see where we are, right north of the UK, closer to Norway. There's a little dot there, that's where we are. So our location is absolutely everything. That's what we focus on with all our branding. So this one, 9 botanicals, only 9 botanicals, including the apple mint. And there's, so as well as juniper and coriander, like gin has to have juniper to be gin by law, you probably know that. And then it's got some citrus, it's got some orange and lemon, it's got some almond powder, cassia bark, orris root, and some of those are fixatives like the perfume industry uses. Those are sort of to hold the flavors. And then the most important botanical for this one, the locally grown and harvested apple mint. So when we're creating a gin, you produce different gin variants, and what you usually do actually is just take it out to different people, or you phone up your friends and family and say, come round and we'll have a gin tasting, see what you think. So with this one, we produced 3 versions of it. As I said, one of the other co-founders, Stuart Nickerson, is an expert and he had a recipe in mind and then produced 3. And he did one with the apple mint fresh, as Jen has just shown you. That goes into the still with all the other botanicals and the neutral spirit. And then he produced one where it was done dried like this. And then he produced a third variant where he doubled the apple mint. And so we took these three out to people, and what we needed to do, and we still do this, you have to test it with different age groups, different sexes. You have to almost sometimes overseas, because there are different tastes, and obviously a younger person's taste is very different to mine for certain. So we did that, and it was absolutely clear, it was almost like it was so obvious, like 95% said this was the winner. And you look back and think, what would we have done if it was like an equal split? I don't know. Anyway, it wasn't. It was absolutely clear. This is the dried, which is why we do dry it. This is got the dried apple mint in, and that goes into the still overnight to let the botanicals have time to soak into the neutral spirit. And then the other thing that you're trying to work on is your alcohol by volume, so your proof, your ABV, and most craft gins, I would say, are probably 40% and over, just because the extra strength just seems to add to the flavors. And again, you tend to make the gins at different ABVs. I think some people think it's really quite technical, and you choose it and there's a real technical formula or something. But actually, a lot of it comes down to the skill of the distiller and making it at different ABVs and seeing what people like best. And it is, but that skill, it shouldn't be undermined really. Whilst the process of gin distillation is quite straightforward, the skill in getting that right balance, getting the quality botanicals, bringing it together and getting the ABV right is an absolute talent. And luckily we have that in the distillery. But in our minds, we were going, Shetland folk are lovely. They're quite hardy because of where they live, and they quite like a drink or two. So we'd probably be better going above 40. So we went for 43. So when you do taste it, and you've written your notes on your card about what you nose and what aromas you had, you then come to, and you taste it neat for the same reasons, to see if you can pick out the botanicals. And you try and hold, you don't throw it back like a shot, try and hold it in the mouth, you roll it around the mouth. And the things that you're picking up are, is it herbally, is it spicy, is it floral, is it woody? You know, these things that even if you think you don't know how to taste, you will start to bring out some of the botanicals. Or you may simply say, actually, no, I don't like that, or I do like it, which is actually the most important thing at the end of the day, whether you like it. So you would taste it neat. So with 43, you need to be a little bit more prepared, because, you know, there is obviously more alcohol in it. You'd hold it and then see how long the flavour lasts for. And it's a really good indicator of how good the gin is when you taste it neat. And ours are all London dry gins, which is not about obviously the geography, it's about the process. So ours are all really, really smooth. And I hope you'll see that with Jenny's reactions we're doing there. And that is the word that most people come back with. We create amazingly smooth gins, and you could just drink it on the rocks if that's what you wanted to do. I think so we're going to. I was going to
say, I think that's a sign of a gin. If you can sip it neat, great. Because some gins, and I think we've all tried them, you sip it neat and go, oh, it's like never remover.
I know, and I think with the higher ABV as well, if you can create a high proof, more alcohol, and yet it still slips down. I mean, obviously there's a warmth because of drinking alcohol neat, but
on your tongue, just like
yeah, it is. This one, the original, I just love this one because it's what gin should taste like. You know,
yeah.
You know the juniper's still really strong. It is, and I'm all for experimentation and people coming up with quirky ideas and doing very different things. That's fantastic. That's what the whole industry is about. And I think that's why the craft gin industry is still booming, because people are still doing weird and wonderful things. But when you want a gin to taste like a gin, this is the one that you go to. And if ever anybody's at an event or they're asking which one they should buy for a friend or relative, this is the one, because people will it just is a really, really good, clean, fresh gin.
It's a gin that tastes like gin.
Yes,
So some people makes it sound like a bad thing because it's not unique. It's like, but I don't I don't necessarily want it unique. I want a good gin that tastes like gin.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. And so so if you love the gin goblets, then go for it. Just because we sort of say a rocks glass, just because it's heavy on the base, supposed to hold the fizz of the tonic longer, but go for the goblet. So put a double measure into the glass, fill it with ice, and then fill the top of the goblet with the tonic and a slice of pink grapefruit. And if you've got apple mints in your garden, and you have to just do this bit, then you just have to do that bit so that you're going to release the aroma into your glass. I'm not going to put my dried leaf in my glass, although sometimes at events I've got the dried leaves, and when people are passing it round, they have thought it was maybe to taste, and you're like, no,
don't eat that. I personally like my gin and tonics quite strong, as anyone that's ever met me will know. So I've gone for about equal measures. Maybe I've gone maybe a little bit more tonic, but then excuse me while I just bash my mint a little bit. That's what fancy people do, right? Still a bit on the rain though. I'm a bit worried there's a bit more mint, and I also only really had a giant grapefruit, so I've also got giant grapefruit wedges, which might be a bit excessive for the amount of liquid I have, but
fantastic. It is. And if you have, I said earlier that mint can be harsh if it's not apple mint, it would still work in your serve. So if you do have mint in your garden, use that. Don't think because it's not apple mint it's not right. Still use the mint in it, because it just gives just that freshness, just that cleanness, which is what the Shetland Islands are about, to be honest. So that one went to Germany 6 years ago. Our first pallet went out to Germany to be exported. And this one it's gone to Canada. It's just hit the States, which we're delighted about. We're just working with importers. It's in the States, and we're working with importers to get it out throughout the States, which is taking a little longer, as everything does at the moment. Yep, and it's Belgium, Italy, Switzerland. So spreading the word, but yes, it is. It's just a really, really good gin.
What I love, because I'm quite sensitive to mint. Like often, like even after I clean my teeth, I can taste it for hours. And so whenever a gin says it has mint in it, I'm always a bit like, oh. But actually, even with, I mean, let's face it, quite a large amount of mint in my glass, not toothpastey at all. Like you said, it's such a soft mint. It's not harsh. It's not too much. It's really fresh.
Yeah.
So that's a win from Jenny.
Cheers. And you're right with the not putting too much tonic in, because craft gins are generally so good. We would normally go 1/3 gin, 2/3 tonic, but it's entirely up to you. Bring it right down, or if you're looking for a longer drink, make it into a longer drink. Just whatever suits. In some ways, it's just recommendations. It's really up to you to decide what works, really. So that's in the tasting pack. This is the one that you would taste first.
Yeah.
Partly because the other two have a stronger ABV. So if you were running your own tasting session with different gins, you would normally start with the lowest ABV. That's why we would start with this one. So yeah.
Get yourself warmed up and ready.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, yes, I'm a big fan, particularly with the grapefruit and the mint as well. I think it just adds a really nice sort of, the citrus from the grapefruit adds a little bitterness, which I like. Personally, I love grapefruit, so I'm a big fan of that. I think that's a really refreshing serve. It's trickier now, it's getting darker. But imagine if it was a couple of weeks ago and we were in the heat wave as well, particularly. That's really refreshing, like bright flavors.
Yeah. So some people can't take pink grapefruit. Some people on statins. I think you actually can, because we've researched this, because we did a pink grapefruit gin, our Filsker, so we know that actually it is okay. But I understand people's nervousness if they've been told not to. So if you can't take pink grapefruit or you don't like it, then just anything citrus would work with this, really. So either a slice of orange or even a slice of kiwi fruit would be really nice with it. So there are different options.
Great. Well, that's, yeah, a win from Jenny. And I can't wait to try the other two. So should we final cheers with the dribble I've left in my glass?
Yes. Cheers.
And I can't wait to dive into the next two.
Great. Okay.